Making power by day, making friends at night. Built different, Tucker Speed. Hell yeah, brother.
You're going to?
Yeah.
That's the Steve Chamberlain style.
Yeah, then I'm going to smoke you with my good tire.
Did you bring tires?
I have one new rear.
One rear.
Yeah.
It only takes one rear.
Yeah.
Oh, we're already live.
Why is that clock moving?
Did it start?
Is that our timer?
That's the timer.
Eggs? How do you like your eggs, Tony Tucker?
Scrambled.
With cheese?
You know, I used to like cheese, but
Are you lactose intolerant?
a little bit.
Okay.
Are we really live?
Do you drink milk?
Yeah, but only with cookies.
Ooh, I drink milk every night at dinner.
Should put it in a cup, weirdo.
With dinner?
With dinner.
See, Tori does that too, and I think it's so weird.
It's
Like
not.
having
It depends on what you're eating.
like a big glass of milk and spaghetti.
Yeah.
No, that's just weird.
My bones
Like-
are super strong, bro.
Not mine. I have bird
Neither
bones.
Steve doesn't drink milk either, and he broke his hand. So
Well, I don't know.
milk does a body good.
It's just weird that I eat a lot of cookies and milk in bed.
In bed?
In bed. That's like my go to bed snack. Like every night, cookies and milk. Go
Did
to
you
sleep.
get crumbs in the bed?
Yeah, but it's always nice. You wake up like in the middle of the night and there's like a crumb stuck to your face. It's like,
you ever fall asleep with a cookie
little
like on your
morsel.
chest? Oh, that's pathetic.
Wake up with a half melted chocolate
it's like in
chip
your
stain.
chest hair. It's like picking the chocolate chip out of your chest
I
hair.
feel like if you woke up like that, you'd be like, who am I? What have I done with myself?
No, I think it's great.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think we're rolling.
Yeah.
So this is the Built Different podcast with Tucker Speed, and we are joined by my friend James Stitzer and special guest Steve Chamberlain of Screamin, Speed and Fab,
Yep.
and Kyle Bertsch. Did I say that right?
You did. Yep.
Of Forever Rad. So thank you guys for doing this. We are at
Pit race.
Pit Race, Pittsburgh.
The opening of the BRL season
BRL,
for us.
round one.
You know, third season that me and you have been doing this, and
We've been to every one.
yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm
Me?
trying to think like who else in like pro stock. Well, I guess Arnie's made it all, and then me,
Clay?
you. No, Clay.
Or not Clay, Bray Miller, Craig.
No, well, they didn't.
Not the
Utah
first
last
year?
year was
their
his first one.
Okay. So me, you, and Arnie
yeah.
are like the three OGs.
Yeah.
That's
we
kinda
were
cool.
we were like top 3 last year in it. I ended up technically getting 4th last year because me and Chris Rivas ended up with the same amount of points at like 74. But
Was there a tiebreaker?
in Daytona? He got a 2nd place, and the best I ever did was 2 3rd places. So
that was the
technically,
tiebreaker?
like that's like the way it was because he had one better finish with the same amount of points. But I was cool with it. You know, we had a battle in Daytona and everything. So
Daytona was gnarly.
Yeah.
Daytona was,
it was
Like-
an experience.
oh, for sure. And I would go back and do it again, like that track. But that track is so hard on the bike.
Yeah. Yeah, because you went through a motor out there. Arnie went through a motor. You know,
I think a handful of
people-
teams had issues.
yeah. I didn't. I changed oil, then I came here. And I've been on like every session a day.
That's why I love you. That's why I love you.
Would you do something different for Daytona now that you've experienced it? You know exactly what it's about.
There's like some changes I would make to the bike.
Yeah.
Gearing,
most
gearing
likely.
for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I would definitely start with a lot closer gearing because I was like way off the mark when I got there.
Mm-hmm.
And then some aerodynamic stuff I would change.
Yeah.
Right.
Just try to hit that top speed.
It's all about top speed
Mm-hmm.
there. Like if you can't hit the
Dude,
top
that-
speed,
the
then
moment,
you're just
yeah, that moment you get on the banks and you're just, you know, leaning into it and just everything. And I remember just being there and just like taking my arms and I'm like, just bringing them up, just bringing them down, you know, that. And you're like, all right, that just feels like I'm like as streamlined as I can get, you know, just on the banks. And it's weird, like around here at Pit Race, you don't have that really where you're like.
There's no draft or like.
We have like two long sections and everything where we're like, all right, stay like good and tucked. But every time else around here,
Everywhere
we're just
else,
jumping
it's a
side to
workout.
side on the bike.
Yeah. We'll jump into your guys' story here, but first, we have a listener question of the episode. So I was going to talk about this and get your guys' take on this question. I want your honest feedback on this. So Jake emailed in and he says, what are your guys' thoughts on the new Softail M8 platform? Do you see these bikes eventually phasing out the Dyna culture? It seems they are better engineered, handle better, and obviously have more power off the factory floor. But a lot of the hardcore Dyna guys in the industry aren't impressed. Is the hype real with this platform? Are the days of the Dyna cult following numbered? Lastly, when do I trade in my late model Dyna for a Softail?
You want to go, or you want me to go?
I'm just wondering if it's still 2018 when the Softail came out.
It is kind of like
It's a little dated question.
And I guess maybe the new part of the question, or maybe the question
But
is,
it's really booming with the new STs.
we all know that the M8 Softail is a better bike.
Yeah.
Hands down, no questions asked. But maybe the question more is the cult following of the Dyna. Like, will that Softail ever phase that out? And I don't know if there will. Like, I mean, there's like the FXR is still there, right?
Yeah,
like,
it'll slow it down, but there's still going to be people that want a $6,000 Dyna instead of a $20,000 new M8 Softail.
and maybe that happens maybe that happens in another 5 years when you can buy an 18 Softail or a 19 for sub 10 grand.
Yeah.
And a kid could buy an M8 for because right now I think you're still looking probably at least 10 grand or more
For like a Softail standard.
Yeah.
Or like a stock low rider.
Right
or
now,
something.
Softail standards are selling for what some Dynas are selling for.
Yeah.
And, like, why would
depending
you
on mileage
buy?
and stuff.
Why would you buy a $12,000 Dyna?
I think that you'll
Buy a
always have
$13,000 Softail.
Yeah.
You'll always have like the Dyna trend of the wheelies and the tall socks and the pit vipers, right? Mm-hmm. You'll always have new people getting into that, where to us it's just super, super old news. And then you need to have a bike that is versatile for whatever it is your riding style is.
Yeah,
right?
I think
And the
that's-
Softail puts the Dyna to shame in touring terms. If you want to set it up to tour, it can actually still be a comfortable motorcycle.
Yeah.
Where a Dyna, yeah, you can do it, but it's just not a Softail.
Yeah.
Like
For smaller bikes. Right?
Dynas, cable throttle bodies, all that is just better like wheelie bike overall. Just, than the drive-by-wire of the M8.
What are you trying to do with the bike?
Depends on what you're going to do with it.
You want to go out to
Absolutely.
the stunt lot? Probably a Dyna.
Yeah.
There's tons of parts out there. You can slap those things back together if you crash it at the stunt lot or whatever.
Except for gas tanks. You ever try to find Dyna
Yeah,
gas tanks?
yeah.
All the wheelie kids ruined every one of them.
Yeah.
Rear fender, too. You can still get a rear fender from Harley OEM for like a somewhat affordable price.
Yeah.
The gas tanks are like $1,200 or
Non-existent.
It's just some crazy price.
Yeah.
And you can't find used tanks. And if you do, it has a dent from.
It's been hit or something.
Yeah, every single one. In my experience with Dynas.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that Dyna will always have its place. It's not like Dyna's going to go away.
No.
Like if a dude walks into my shop and says, I want to buy a bike that, and I have $12K to spend, but I want to rip around the canyons, but occasionally I want to do a long trip. Should I buy the Dyna or the Softail? The Softail all day.
Yeah.
All day. So it's just, it's just finding the bike that fits what you want it to do.
Right.
So M8, power-wise though,
It's so easy
just-
to make some power.
Yeah.
with it.
It doesn't compare.
It's not even a fair comparison anymore.
Especially me just feeling smoother versus a twin cam and the vibration that comes with it. And
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, my opinion, I think the Dyna is one of the worst bikes that Harley ever made from an engineering standpoint.
Yeah.
Like just the 2-point rubber.
Yeah. Watching them wobble in the corners is
yeah.
always interesting.
Yeah.
The swing arm design where it's like the one bushing and then one bearing or something
Yeah.
like that in it, and they just get all loose. And
You know, I've done those bushings on those swing arms, like replace them with like OEM bushing and sleeve and everything on
Yeah.
that one side, and it still has play in it.
Yeah.
With brand new parts out of the box.
yeah,
It's just like a poor design from the get-go.
We're probably bad ones to ask, though. It's like not the best question for Steve.
You're like
And
an Indian
yeah.
guy,
No,
right?
well, not just that, but I've never owned a Dyna or a Softail.
Yeah.
Neither has he.
yeah,
We've ridden them, of course, but
Sure.
we've not stacked thousands of miles on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's fair. I mean, you know, I've had a couple of M8 Softails. I've never owned a Dyna. I've had a couple Softails. And I, you know, I've talked to a lot of guys that have been shopping for bikes, and I tell every one of them, buy the Softail.
yeah. Get
Buy
the
the
M8 if you can.
You know,
Don't you have a M8 Softail chopper? Something that you got in the works right now? I think
secret.
the last time I was in your. Oh, you don't want to?
no, it is. No, I'll tease it. Yeah, I do have. So I bought. It's just a wrecked bike that I bought. That
Yeah, Softail standard.
Softail standard street bob or something. I don't know. It was all smashed. It had some T-bars on it that were like broken off when I bought it. But we built this really cool frame jig for that frame, and I want to build like a complete from scratch chopper frame and put that motor in it. So
Oh yeah.
that's on my project to-do list, and I have the donor bike already.
How many's on the project to do list?
Like-
Probably like 70.
Yeah,
knowing
that
you.
list is getting long. Yeah.
Are you going to keep it a Softail as a chopper?
I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Can a chopper be a chopper as a Softail? Truly, in your opinion?
I mean, honestly, what I was thinking is like either going like rigid or doing like some weird, crazy rear suspension setup. That's like not the monoshock, like, you know, I don't know, something just crazy, weird,
Yeah,
different.
because like the Softail M8 motors are all solid mounted,
Right.
You know, from the factory compared to the Touring, which you're on rubber mounts. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you're going to do a chopper out of it, it's probably easier to start with the whole Softail setup.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it'd be a cooler, you know, an easier platform to start building a frame from.
Yeah.
Because then I'm not
well,
like
with
trying to like
tabs up and bolt the motor in.
deal with like the cleat block mounts or all the rubber mount, you know, stuff on a chopper frame.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I'm still early in trying to figure out what I want it to look like. But I just got the frame jig back like a couple weeks ago, so it's at my shop now. But I'd like to get my Road Glide together. I'd like to get my Sportster that I've been like working on for like 3 years done.
Is that a race bike Sportster?
No, it
that's
was. I started that project before BRL was a thing.
Okay.
It's kind of like an on-off road setup. I did a monoshock conversion on it,
Gotcha.
and that's about as far. I got a front end for it, and I got the swing arm built and the shock all set up and everything. And then I got stuck on the wheels, and then I parked it, and then BRL became a thing, and I just have never gotten back to it.
Gotcha.
the sport kind of takes over sometimes. You know, the amount of traveling that we're
Traveling
doing
and the money,
bikes and-
yeah, it's such an
money.
expensive sport,
yeah.
you know.
You know, not to tear anybody away, but you know, we've definitely invested a decent amount in past couple years into what we're doing. So it takes a lot of commitment.
Yeah, the nice thing is like we've been able to stretch that out over 3 years, and we've been able to spend the money as the sport's been progressing. But like to start from scratch today,
Yeah.
like you kind of have to spend all that money to come out and be
Right.
at this level today.
Yeah, because like the first BRL when I came out, I was on my street bike with floorboards on it yet. Like it was taller, but yeah, I was just like, this is what I have, and I had some 17-inch wheels and put some, I think some Dunlop Q4s on it, and I was like, okay, let's go, let's see what happens, and then just that by the next race, you're like, all right, time to step it up a little bit, and then you get a little more in competition. You're like, well, I'm going to change this and do that. So now guys like kind of getting into it now, like they got to step it up to make it happen.
I like to ask our guest a a little bit of how they got into the motorcycling world, whether it's not just specifically Harleys or Indians or, cruisers, even if it's, hey, don't mind us.
Yeah. We're at
We're
the
the
racetrack
racetrack,
right now, so people are just running around on pit bikes.
So I'll start with you, Kyle.
Okay. So how did I get into motorcycles?
Yeah.
It's basically when I was 14, I want to make it kind of short, but I grew up in North Dakota, and up there it's just snow all the time. And I was a skateboard kid. Still am a skateboard
Old
guy.
man, yeah.
Old man, but I still have it, still got it.
Can you do a kickflip?
Absolutely, I can. Yes. First try.
Kickflip.
First try, let's go. He'll back me up.
Yeah.
I've seen the video.
So I was a skateboard kid, and I got into custom cars and trucks when I was 14.
Okay.
Up there, you can drive when you're 14. So I got my license at a very young age, and the first thing you do is just start cruising Main Street, chasing girls. And you notice all the older guys have, like, at that time it was pre-Fast and Furious, so the Honda Civics with the body kits and Wings West and all that kind of stuff. So you just, like, you paid attention, you're like, oh, these cars are kind of cool. But I was into low and slow, like low riders, wire wheels, hydraulics. Air ride existed, but it wasn't, like, super, super popular. And I just was hooked. So I started building custom cars and trucks, literally cutting them in half and welding them back together, like to make a truck lay flat on the ground and putting air ride on it and making the rocker panels touch the ground. And so I became a little more talented with my hands just due to
Just
needing to know how to do it. Couldn't afford to pay someone to do it, By the time I was 24, I had been, like, on the cover of different magazines and traveled all over the country with show trucks, and probably built a good name for myself in that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave the state, because this is not a place where I can do this for a living. And I moved to St. Louis, and my sister lived there, and I got a job in a custom paint shop right when I moved there. And I had some bodywork experience. I'd been in some body shops and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. And I got hired at a paint shop, and they primarily did motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't know anything about motorcycles, nothing. But the more guys would come in and be like, hey, I want my bagger painted. And this was like pre-stretched bags. This was like 06, 07-ish.
Okay.
Whenever they'd bring it in, we would want just the tins. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to take your bike
You didn't
apart.
touch the bike.
Yeah. But eventually they're like, well, can you please take it apart? And we're like, well, we know how to wrench, so I guess we can try. So we learned real quick how to turn wrenches on them. And then while they're sitting there naked, they're saying, hey, well, can you put some ape hangers on it for me? Can you put air ride on the back, whatever the case is?
This was at the paint shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, well, it's just sitting here. Like, sure, why not? So started learning how to work on them. And then after that, I was just hooked. And
It's way better than working on cars, huh?
well, we did a ton of cars and a ton of trucks too.
Yeah.
So we had to find that balance. But yeah, working on the bikes, we gained way more satisfaction with the in and out factor versus,
Like a car project could be
a car could
long.
take a year,
Yeah.
or longer, where a bike could take a month or 2 weeks. And so you kind of just have a little bit more fun with it, and you get to do more. And I was just kind of burnt on cars too.
Yeah.
I continued doing that for a long time still, but my last cool car I owned, I sold like 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So still very much into hot rods and like vintage Cadillacs and stuff like that, 40s cars. But I started riding in 2013. And so I'm like, I got 10 years under my belt now. And it just started with custom choppers and like the low and slow type thing and make them look like a hot rod type motorcycle. And then I started road tripping and I fell in love with that. There's just something about pulling up the map and finding like the green spots, like the state parks that I've never been to. All right, let's just go there and let's try it, see how it goes. And fell in love with it. I mean, the traveling is what hooked me.
And you've done a lot of traveling.
I have, yeah. I mean, for myself, being a father and a business owner, I have done a lot of traveling for what my schedule allows. Not nearly as much as what this guy's done.
Yeah.
But I have the goal of just as many miles as possible. And so my business structure right now is mostly work 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day so that I can get as much done as possible, make money, take off for a week or two, and go live my life and preach riding the motorcycles that I like to build. Because it shows that we know how to turn a wrench and build something nice too. You know? So,
and that goes a long way with like a customer, like that you're not just a builder or
for sure.
whatever, that you understand what a bike needs out on the road.
Yeah, like a lot of the bikes you see that I've done in the past can probably win any show it goes to. Like, that's great. But it will also smash miles with 0 hiccups. And I don't really like go on social media and preach that kind of stuff so much, but I think just the bike showing up to events proves that, right?
It doesn't need to be said when it's just like it just happens. Like dude, you don't need to tell a dude that you just rode here when he sees you roll in on a bike that could win the show.
Covered in bugs, right?
Right.
One of the coolest things for me is like last year we did take 4 bikes out to Born Free, and I trailered all of them out there because it's 2,000 miles to get there. And my mustard bike got like first place at the SDC show, which was like one of the highlights of my life. Like being in California, getting first place with my bike that all of my heart and soul went into.
Sure.
I got home and I sold it to a good friend of mine, and this year he's riding it back to Born Free.
That's cool.
From St. Louis.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, to me, it doesn't get any cooler.
Yeah.
It's very fulfilling when you see people, like, you hate seeing the rock chips, and you hate that maybe it, gets tipped over in a parking lot or whatever the case is, but we just fix it and we keep abusing and enjoying. I mean, that's the whole point.
That was like the Smokies V-Twin Visionary tour. Ended up rolling out there with him, and we're going up to the show, and he's like, and that puts his bike in the show, and he, like, at the time, his bike was like kind of dirty. He's like, I really wanted to wash it. And I just went to him. I was like, show up with bugs. And then I was like, you rode it here. You rode it all the way here. And I was like, it looks great and everything. I was like, show bike, but it's like got some miles on it. And then he ended up taking home, I think, best of show in that one.
Yeah.
I was like, didn't clean it, still dirty, bugs on it,
I mean,
ripping.
it was
rode all the way there,
5.
rode all the way home. So.
Isn't it funny how bugs on a bike changes the way you look at it?
Absolutely. Or the chips in the right spots.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Like,
does.
you go to a bike show, say you go to a V-Twin Visionary show or something, and there's a lineup of all these beautiful baggers just lined up that, just tons of money in each one of them. And then there's one sitting there that's like a badass bike, like your Mustard Road King.
Right.
Like, but it has bugs on it, and that just gives it that like little edge over
it's
all
just
the
extra
other
respect is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to even be spoken about.
Right. But it's a thing.
Changes.
It's a
it
thing.
changes
Yeah.
for sure.
And it's cool that like the culture, like that is a thing. It's funny that like
We're
that's
building bikes to ride. We want to make them look cool. We want to, have fun on them, make them perform and everything. But you got to be able to ride them at the end of the day. You want to take them cross country, or you want to take them down the canyons or anything. Like, just having bikes that are multi-purpose, fun, look damn good at the time. Like, that's what it's about to me.
for sure.
I've preached that for a long time, is smashing miles.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, so much of that came from my car history. You would build this amazing piece of machinery, and then you'd be afraid to drive it because it's so gorgeous and so custom. And then so you trailer it to a show halfway across the country, you unload it in a grass field, and there you sit getting a sunburn for 2 or 3 days. That gets really boring, right?
Yeah.
And so when it came time to starting to build motorcycles, we got a lot of the big wheel stuff in the St. Louis area. So people were having us build big wheel bikes, and you would build these amazing motorcycles that these dudes never rode. And so when I finally progressed enough to build my own custom bikes that I thought were really nice, as much as it hurts me to get them filthy and get the rock chips, that was like, this is what I'm doing from now on.
Sure.
Like, I'm never sitting in a field ever again.
Yeah.
Let's get out and enjoy this stuff
Sure.
instead of just slaving away on this project just to let it sit there. you know?
Yeah. And I think you two guys have been like kind of one of the two dudes promoting that. Like, getting people back on the highway.
Yeah.
Like
never
converting
losing
these
sight.
dudes. Like the thing to do isn't to build this bike, trailer to a show, sit in the grass, and then trailer it home. Like you guys have been doing it for years, and like I think that there's this switch now that like that's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be build a trailer queen.
Yeah.
Build a bike and to ride, and make the bike rideable, and that's cool because the performance trend works really well with that.
Yeah, it's
'Cause,
built
like-
for that.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Because we all know you can buy the baddest parts, but if you just don't like put it together right and that things don't jive together, then it's not going to be like a perfect riding
it's not gonna be
bike,
fun to
you
ride
know?
either.
Yeah, you're like, all right, I got this $10,000 part with this and that,
Yeah.
and then this guy they can spend a couple less dollars, but it's just the perfect combo, and you're like, all right, everything works, you know? You
Yeah.
can break down. And,
Well, how many big wheel baggers did you ride that like you couldn't wait to get off of it because they just
Man, like being
weren't built to ride?
Yeah, being like a small dude like myself, they were a handful to
Yeah.
ride. Just like forcing them to go and left
I mean,
or
they'll
right.
have crazy bars on whether they're tall or
Yeah.
wide or what, you know, like.
For me, I tried to
it's-
ride as little of them as possible.
Yeah.
I would just shake them down for a customer and be like, okay, it goes straight down the road at about 80, and I didn't go any faster. Here you go. And
Right.
mostly because they were never going to ride the damn thing anyways.
Yeah.
All they cared about was winning shows and stereo competitions. And I mean, we did a bunch of them that had big subs in the saddlebags.
Mm-hmm.
And I've felt those things just wobbling all over the place because they're overloaded with weight.
Yeah.
I mean, even in a stock saddlebag, it says don't put more than 15, 20 pounds
Yeah.
in this. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And
You put 50 pounds of subwoofers in it.
yeah, and those customers didn't understand that. They just
Right.
they couldn't
You're like, I
grasp.
don't get it, my bike's wobbling. You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
It's my fault that their bike's doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Even though they wanted all that stuff done, and you try to talk them out of it, and it's, oh no, I have to have that because there's just the
Yeah.
dick measuring contest
Sure.
thing, you know. It's just, to me, it just got pathetic. It took all the fun out of it.
Yeah. Well,
And-
doesn't it feel so much better to like deliver a motorcycle to a guy that like you're bummed because you want to keep riding it?
Dude,
You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
Literally,
like-
yeah,
yeah, like
literally
currently,
just went through this.
So like he built Indian, you know, for a guy, Indian Challenger, and then brought it to Daytona. Ended up winning a couple shows, put a couple 100 miles on it there, and the guy before like he built it, like bought it in Cali, rode it all the way across country, never really left Cali, and then came and dropped it off at his shop for him to build. And then within the past 2 weeks, he's on vacation right now, flew back, picked up his bike, and then they went and hung out in the Smokies for a while. And this dude's just solo tripping around the country and gonna end back up in Cali on this show bike that he just built for him.
He
you
took
know?
3 weeks off of work, and I was like, "Hey, man, we should do some ride. Like, it feels so good to go ride with you on this bike that I just built for you." And because he's such a great dude, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do that." And he's on week 2 right now of just cruising the country, just loving life on the bike that I just built him, and it's a very fulfilling thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, God, I really hate to see it leave.
Yeah.
I tried to trade him. I have 2 different motorcycles now. I tried to trade him each one of those, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
I love the bike that you built for me. So yeah, that's the best
Thank you.
part of it. It's very rewarding, and he's halfway back to Cali now. He's going to hit Colorado. He's going to go to Utah, and then he's heading back to Santa Barbara. And I'll see it at Born Free. I'm going to set up at Born Free this
Oh,
summer
yeah?
again. So we'll have a small booth, and he'll be there to have his bike on display in
Nice.
front of the booth. Just ultimate payoff. If I could do that kind of job every day, that would be.
Yeah,
what
those
I
are
would
the
do.
fun ones, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and I think the thing is like, if we want to educate the public, that all starts with that dude, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think we've all had those experiences where we build a badass bike, but it's not such a badass customer.
Well, one of the
And
cooler,
they'll derail the whole process.
The coolest part, the other coolest part of that story is him and I started talking on Instagram like 2 years ago. And I get a lot of people that just want to ask questions. They're curious, and I'll always take the time to answer them. And we just chatted for like 6 months, and he has a FTR. And eventually he's like, you know what? I'm going to buy a Challenger, and I want you to build it. I'm like, okay. Like, I wasn't trying to get anything out of this conversation. You're just a cool guy, and we're just kicking it and chatting. And that's what he did. He went out and bought a bike, literally rode it to my house, dropped it off, and picked it up when it was finished. And just by, taking the time, showing this guy that I'm a real person who's engaging in conversation with him. That
You were just real with him.
Yeah, and that sold the bike. I had no intention of building a bike for him. And I do that with people every single day, every single night, and that stuff takes you a long way in the industry.
For sure.
Just gaining the respect from people, and I mean, I try to preach that. It's just positivity. Let's all stay positive together, help each other out. We're all here for the same reason.
Right.
And that works. Steve does the same thing. Oh, that's how I met James, just talking on Instagram together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, him and I've chatted probably, 100 hours together, most likely.
Yeah.
And the first time I got to meet him was at BRL in Utah, and it was just like, holy shit, you're James. This is awesome. I'm so stoked to meet you.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's cooler than meeting people on the internet, even though it's weird as hell, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
15 years ago, they'd be like, all right, be
Yeah,
careful.
you're not supposed to
Now
talk
we're
to people like
what are you
that."
doing? Oh, I'm just going to travel 2,000 miles, go meet with this guy I've never met before in California. We're going to ride some roads around.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm going to come all the way home.
That's how I met Steve
What?
as well, and then we interacted back in Sturgis of 18 or 19 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 2019 on that.
I have my Road King in Sturgis. He had his Road Glide there. We met up, had the time of our lives. A huge group of friends, rode the Black Hills, passed everybody the whole time, and we knew. It was that one trip that linked. We kind of have this inner circle of our closest homies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of us are still the closest homies. I mean, we do
That's
solo
where I met
trips.
Steve.
Yeah.
Sturgis.
Yeah, Sturgis.
Right after you broke your leg.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd have been 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the year after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny with like meeting him in Sturgis. So Jace from Fast Life Garage. So me and him, and then Bob, Shredder Bob Racing, that's in the Big Twins class racing. So he was on his Dyna. We're all out riding around, and then Bob ended up getting pulled over that weekend for like speeding around a corner, and then we're going again, and then it's only three of us riding around, and then Jace ends up getting pulled over, and then the cop's like, you pull over, and like the moment he passed me, I was like, you went past me, you're no longer my problem. Like, I was just like, eh. And I pulled up, and I went to a gas station. I'm sitting at a gas station, I'm hanging out, I'm waiting for Jace, like, he was back down the road. I open my phone up, and I get a message from him, and he's like, are you at the Mobile in Deadwood, or, right next to this casino? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, me and a couple buddies are going to walk over, stay there. I was like, okay.
You never met before that?
No, like that's how met, because Jace got pulled over.
And literally 4 years later, he lives with me. He operates in my building.
Yeah.
We build motorcycles together. We travel the country together. Whether it's in his van to a race like this, whether it's
show,
bikes next
whatever.
to bikes. I mean, we literally he rode his race bike to Sturgis. I rode my tan Challenger. Last year, we took off on the Challenger and his race bike. Rode to Sturgis together. Rode back home. Tore it down, put it back in race mode, went to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Crashed.
I mean, it doesn't crash. Doesn't drink milk, so he broke his hand. But raced the entire weekend with a broken hand.
Oh, his hand was gnarly, dude. That
Yeah.
thing was like
With
a
a
bear
broken
paw.
hand.
Yeah.
Loaded back up, drove back home to St. Louis, went to the urgent care when he got home.
Yeah.
Hey, your hand's broke. Raced the whole weekend like that, and did well with a broken hand.
I think I got sixth both races, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a broken hand, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was insane. It was absolutely
yeah.
insane.
Dude's an animal.
Yeah, he is. He's something else.
just out here having fun. So.
That's what
it's
it's
like when
about.
you're already there, it's so hard to just be like,
Just give up.
like we came back. I remember we came back to pit, and like he watched me crash, and then he's like, "Well, how are you? What's that and that?" And I'm like, so much going on, I just smacked myself on the ground, and I'm just like, yeah. And I was like, man, my hand really hurts, And then should we fix the bike? Shouldn't we? I was like, do whatever. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I can't even. And then they started just fixing the bike. Like, I just broke off like the brake peg, and then like about 10 minutes later, I'm like, that. I'm like, I go and I'm like, my hand hurts. I was like, can I pull in the clutch? I make it like an 1/8 inch in. My hand's just trembling. I was like, ugh. So I pop a couple like aspirin and then just go over the cooler and just dump
Wait, you
my
pop
hand in
aspirin
the
like
cooler.
this?
Like aspirin.
Oh, okay.
And then I was smoking
I thought you were
cigarettes.
smoking a cigarette.
Dip my hand in a cooler, and then I skipped the next practice session, and it was like qualifying. And I was like, whatever. I just suit up, put my helmet on, put my gloves on, and I walked over to the bike and just like grabbed the clutch and was like, whew. I was like, nice. I was like, pop her in gear, let's go. And I was like, at least we're going to spin a couple laps, and we'll figure it out if it gets better in the morning. At least put me on the grid, you know? And then ended up rolling with it, so.
Well, and you still went out there and finished the race and did well. Like, you were still, like, competitive.
Yeah, I remember I ran into Mikey Vittel that race. So that chicane on the back end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he like shot it in there and that.
Everybody was shooting.
And like hitting him. And then I went to him after the race. I was like, you know I hit you in that race? He's like, oh, I had no idea. I was like, oh, yeah, you see how like your vinyl wrap's like kind of missing right here? I was like, it's down my fairing. Like fairing the bag just.
Rubbing is racing. Right?
Yeah.
But then look at how, like, just for me, even in just 10 years of riding motorcycles, and I'm not racing. God, I want to, and I have plans for it. But here we are. Met a dude on the internet. He starts racing. Mm-hmm. Here we are doing this.
Sitting in the garages in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and then and the camaraderie of it, of like just it started from literally nothing.
Yeah.
We're literally writing the story on it together, all of us. Mm-hmm. And we're all here to help each other. I mean, we had how many people down today?
Oh, man, it was a nightmare today. There were so many bikes.
Right.
People
And
just lending out
They're
parts.
just getting, but just like today, just people were just so excited and everything. And like
Well,
I
and
told
the
people,
track
I'm
is
like,
gnarly,
it's
too.
technical.
The track
like,
is
there's
gnarly.
blind corners.
Yeah.
I'm like, just go out there and like, leave your ego at the door. Like, it's all right.
Today's not qualifying.
Yeah. Right.
Let's
I was
just
like,
ease
it was
into
track day
things.
today.
Yeah.
It was
What I was getting at is look at how the first thing I did. We're good. Bike's in the pit. We're good to go. I hop on the pit bike, try to find parts for someone who went down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't even know the dude. I know his name, but like, hey, we want everybody to succeed.
Yeah, we want a full grid, right?
Right.
Like it's already a small group of dudes. So for us to lose one or two bikes because of a missing part here or there, like we don't want that. Like, and I don't want to beat you because you couldn't line up because your bike was broken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just want to straight up beat you.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like trash talk each other.
Good luck. I'm just kidding.
So,
But yeah, it's like I remember that at like the first BRL. Just like hearing over the loudspeaker, you're like, "Does anybody have a twin cam motor for like this year?" And you're just like, "Okay." And it was like, "Does anybody have a GSXR 1000 wheel from a 03 to 06?" Just like, and everybody's like, "Oh shit, here you go." And that's what this whole like racing adventure's kind of been. It's just like.
that's the cool
We're
thing
such a minority
with
in it.
racing, though, is that there is a different camaraderie in the race pits than there is like you go to a bike show or something. Like, not that you don't get along with those dudes and have a good time, but it's different at the races.
Yeah.
Racers are different,
Yeah.
and racing, like it's hard for all of us and it's expensive for all of us. And we all have that like mutual respect
It's
for
the-
like
it's
what
the
you put
passion
in
that
it.
ties
Yeah.
every one of us together.
Right.
Right.
When we get on the track, we all want to beat the other one, but in the pits, we all want to help each other out to make sure you get on the track.
Yeah, like everything good, whatever you need, we're always there for each other with this thing. So
Well, and that makes me think of like the bike night statement. Like, yeah, you know everybody there, but there's not the camaraderie that's like this. Last weekend, the guy who is out riding his new Indian Challenger that I built for him, Jace from Fast Life podcast is going to burn me at the stake because here I am on Tucker's podcast, and I also skipped his camp out last weekend.
Ooh, I didn't know you did that.
I had an obligation that I needed to be at, and I seen on the internet that some dude blew a motor up on his way to the camp out and put a post up. Jace shared it. Somebody found a freaking motor somewhere. They literally installed the motor at the campground on the stage or something like that. You were there.
yeah, there was a pavilion. I remember slightly hungover in the morning, and I like go walk out, and like a couple food trucks there, and I'm eating some biscuits and gravy, and this dude just has his bike on a tarp, and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, oh, he blew his motor in Arkansas on the way here. He bought a new motor. Somebody's delivering it from Oklahoma. He's trying to get it out, and like they're like, he was just tearing into it.
Where was he from, by the way?
South Carolina.
So riding
yeah.
from South Carolina to Oklahoma. Yeah. Right. Finds a motor, gets it dropped off, literally puts it in there, fires it up on the stage.
Well, yeah, I remember I was sitting there, like, I'm like halfway across the campground. We're just sitting there and just hear, ah, like everybody cheering. It was when he fired the motor up
Really?
and it started right up and everything.
That's cool. I mean, and that's different than I think what you see at a lot of other bike events.
100%.
There's a camaraderie
exactly.
surrounded, I think, with like Jace's camp out.
Right.
There's like a
The biggest thing is it's not a social media thing. You have to get out on your motorcycle and
go.
meet some people
Yeah.
and experience life.
yeah, have some face-to-face conversations.
Exactly.
Have a beer together.
How often do you and I chat on Instagram? Never. Mm-hmm. But every time we see each other, hey man, how you doing? It's
Right.
super good to see you.
Yeah.
There's still a real world out there.
There is, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, Instagram has its place, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is you do. Like, it's great because it makes those connections, but you got to, like.
Sometimes it's just an icebreaker.
It's-
It's just that, hey, I've seen your bike before.
Right.
Hey, oh, I know you own this business. Or it's just something like that. It just
Right.
comes in, it breaks the ice. And then if you're cool, you're cool. If you're not, you're not.
Like, Instagram's like kind of like a nationwide bar. Like, normally, like, before social media, like, you would become friends with dudes that, like, you meet at the local bike night or the local bar. Like, Instagram's just like that. Like, what you do with those friendships from that point
Yeah.
are up to you and that other person, right? And Instagram's just like a really big version of your local bar, right? You can have a conversation with a dude, but then what do you do with that? Like, you go ride with that dude. You have him come over and stay at your house as he's traveling through or whatever, like stuff like that. So
Yeah.
It's funny because I moved 50 miles away a couple of years ago when we bought our new place with the new shop and everything. And I have had, hands down, I've had probably 30 people from around the country make my place a destination to come visit, stop, hang out, stay the night, just because they're great people that are genuinely curious and want to come check it out, right? The people that I've been the closest with before I moved 50 miles away, I've had like 4 or 5 of them come see our new place, and it's been 2 years.
Wow.
So I'm getting you guys going out of your way to come see me and hang out more than the people that I've known
that
that
you thought were your circle.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what it's all about.
It's hard because it's, sometimes you get so, like you're in your circle and you feel like you're close and tight, and then something like that changes things and you realize that circle wasn't as tight as you thought it was.
Yeah, somebody told me a long time ago. Somebody told me they were in their 60s. By the time you're my age, you'll be able to count your real friends on one hand. And I was, it actually really made me upset because I have a ton of people.
You
I would
think you have a
consider
ton
the
of
realest
really close friends, yeah.
And the older you get, the more that person was right. I mean, we still have a huge, amazing circle of amazing friends.
Sure.
And a lot of that is due to social media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's so important to so many of us is the things that it's brought in us in life.
Yeah. I've always told people over the years, like, social media has always been a tool for me. Like, you won't catch me just, like, oversharing some opinions on it or that. Like, some of the stuff I still keep to myself, and it's like I use it for meeting people,
To
business
make the
stuff,
connection.
Right.
That, and, like, I learned that, like, really early on. So, like, one of my first bikes was a V-Rod. So I bought
sorry.
Well, yeah. So to go back on the question, what got me into motorcycles and everything. So first bike was a V-Rod, and I ended up buying it brand new from the Harley dealership. And back then, you'd buy a bike from the dealership.
What year was this?
2008. I was
Okay.
18 years old.
Okay.
Bought a brand new V-Rod. and they bring you to motor clothes, and they tell you like, oh, here's the shirts, and then they bring you to the parts department, and they're like that, and then they bring you to the service department, and there was this one dude, and he had mine was a 08 V-Rod. He had a 07 V-Rod. He's like, hey, he's like, see, you bought this bike? He's like, there's this website. It's called 1130cc.com. He's like, it's all V-Rod guys. It's a really cool forum. Back when, like, forums were huge.
Before social media
before
was a thing.
Facebook groups.
Facebook groups.
Before Instagram. And he's like, there's this forum on there. He's like, yeah, just be cool and whatnot. And so 18 years old, I go on there and I'm reading anything and everything you kind of want to know about it. Like all these guys were V-Rod guys, and so ended up being on there, and then I ended up having like a meetup. They called it like Midwest Thunder, where it was like a bunch of V-Rod guys came, and then end up you guys can put those jokes, but it was like
it's
we
cool.
did
I mean, I'm not going to tell you what my first bike was, so.
but we did like we rented out a drag strip and then went down did drag racing, and then they had like a dyno shootout, and then we had like go-karts where it was like just a bunch of events like in a weekend with like all these, and it was a meetup of just meeting random people off the internet, and I was like really young.
But V-Rod riders are like the most random people.
Oh yeah, like I
The
mean
most.
every end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like like you have the engineer dude that really is like, I just bought this because Porsche helped design the motor, and then you just have the super like other end of the spectrum guy. But it's
Who he bought the bike because they had some V-Rod in the showroom they couldn't give away, so he like got it like on special.
But it was like really early on, it just made me learn that social media is a tool. I can meet these guys cross country, because I took that V-Rod within the first year and I rode it to Las Vegas. So
From where?
Michigan to Las Vegas.
Okay.
So a couple thousand miles, and I bought a supercharger for the bike. So I was one of the first guys in the world to supercharge. It was TTS Performance. They had a Road Trek supercharger kit, and I was one of the first 5 beta testers. So I bought the supercharger kit, and then ended up riding it to Vegas. Well, in the middle of Oklahoma, I'm like, had like a little thread on the forum about it. Middle of Oklahoma, I ended up eating a bearing in the drive system to the supercharger. So I was like dead in the water. It was pissing oil out the side. It was broken down, lost keys, kind of go on there. This one guy's like, oh, I'm 3 hours away. I'll come in my truck and trailer and that. Like, let me know tomorrow, because it was at night. He's like, let me know tomorrow morning if you need something to happen. So it's like, I had that camaraderie, like back in, this is early. 2009 when this trip happened. So it's like, I've just had it for so long. So like, I've really embraced, the social media as a tool, the camaraderie, the helping each other out, and
it's just the niche thing.
Yeah.
It's a niche passion. It's just like how it was when I was into mini trucks, custom cars. It's not that large of a community. So when you find those people who are like-minded and you can just completely relate to each other, that you just flock to each other.
Yeah.
And then you'll do anything to help or support, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So
I think that's huge for me and James, because like if we were like restricted to like our local area, like there's just not that many riders in our area. Like in northern Utah, like it's just kind of probably similar to like North Dakota. Like it's just there's not that many people doing it. So like to be able to outreach and like talk with dudes that are doing it in St. Louis or California or East Coast, Florida, Texas, or whatever, like it's just cool to see what other guys are doing, how they're doing it.
Yeah.
And then
it's like
having the opportunity to hang out with these guys and hear their stories, and that their stories are not so much different than my stories.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's days where I wonder, like, did I really pick the right career? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes the headaches and struggles that come along with it.
Right.
But I do it because I love it. So like, I almost like need to like sit down with guys like you guys and hear that you have that passion to make me feel better that like I did make the right call.
Yeah.
Well, you're still creating your own. You're still building your own prison, right? As a self-employed man with employees and all of the things that come with it. But You wouldn't change it for the world now that you've been doing it long
I don't know
enough
if I
and-
could go back to
Yeah, you
working
can't.
for somebody.
You can't.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's days where I'm like, man, I wish I could
I'm done. I'm over this. Just wish I
clock
could
out
just-
and leave.
What
and,
I tell
and forget about
myself,
this
I'm,
place.
I'm fairly newer with it, but I've been in this world. My best friend, who was my boss for 10 or 11 years, I watched him struggle with it every single day. And he didn't hide anything from me. So I've heard all of the conversations about the customers and the finance and the taxes and all of that stuff. So it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And I just tell when I'm feeling bad or feeling down, like, oh, I'm so sick of this. Just be like, always remind yourself, I have other talents. I can go get a job doing something else.
It's nice to have that in your back pocket,
Yeah,
right?
like I know that if I called it quits or if I failed, I have other skill sets. So at least I'm giving it a shot.
That gives you a little sense of freedom, though, too,
It
right?
does, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm still making a choice into what I'm doing.
Sure.
You know? So, and we've gotten more heavily into the parts here lately in the last 6 months or so, and actually created another job within my business for another person to be doing that side, parts, shipping, all of the paperwork stuff. And who would have thought that that would have ever happened? I mean, wasn't supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
I was just, playing with toys. That's how it started. That's how it started.
Yeah, and
So-
from where I'm at, like with my business, and my business is a lot different than yours.
Yeah.
I think, you know what I mean. Like we're like probably 90% like just like service and repair and like small customization jobs is like what we do, and then we do a few builds here and there.
Right.
But I have a big staff now.
Right.
Like, and as much as I want to like,
Yeah, I got to work on my own race bike. They
yeah,
just
I got
do it-
dudes
they
that
just
are
do
doing
it
it
while
all,
we're
right?
doing podcasts.
And I just, I got Jordan over here, that sets all this podcast stuff up, and then, but it's hard because like in the beginning, I just wanted to, like, I look at what you're doing, and like that's what I wanted to do in the early days.
Yeah.
But like my business has just gone down this path, and now I find myself like, rather than being able to like build a custom bike, I just manage people all day.
Yeah. Herding cats, right?
Or solving problems. Yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And you're right. My side is not 90% service. It's like 5% service, if that. I'm not really interested in that because there's not anything that interests me. So what I do is I don't do any of this strictly for money. I do it because I love it. The money comes with it. If it's good, if it's high, if it's low, it just is what it is. I'm not gonna do oil changes and brake pads just because I have to.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to.
Yeah.
I've made the decisions and taken the right steps to get to that point.
And I think you should stick to that.
I'm gonna try.
You should stick to it.
Definitely gonna try.
I think my transition, maybe it was different for you coming from like the lowrider truck and car stuff. I came out of the dealership. So when I started my business, kind of my lane or like what I knew was just that. So like
Right, yeah.
I always felt like I just kind of dedefaulted back to that's what I would do.
It's because that's what you knew, and that's what was comfortable.
It was like the safety net. It was
it's comfortable.
and I've tried to push myself, me personally, outside of that, and tried to get more into the custom build world, and I've done okay. I don't think that I'm on a level of you. Like,
But-
I look at your bikes and I'm like, I want to build a bike like that one day.
I do, of course. I appreciate that. You stood out to me many years ago with that. We were talking about it earlier, the Road King that looks like an FXR, and I first seen that bike at Born Free is that when you debuted it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Born Free was
that-
when we got it done like a month before.
Probably
Born.
18 or 17 or
I think it was 18.
pre-COVID, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
I seen that bike, and the one thing that caught my attention was, holy crap, this is a pre-09 bike. And
Yeah.
I knew it just by looking at the floorboard mount and the chassis, right? And everyone's like, look at that FXR. And I'm like, you dummies, that's not an FXR.
I still have so many
'Cause you
dudes who are
did-
like, nice
yeah.
FXR. I'm like,
We did such a
"Thanks."
good job of
Yeah.
it. You have tremendous talent when it comes to building things. If that's something that interests you, you should make that
Yeah.
a point, because you'll regret not doing it. If you possess it, you should try and channel
Yeah.
that. You know?
And I'm just like in this weird point, like with the business where like my work area is like right in the same area as everything else that's going on, all the service stuff. And all these guys are, you know, like we're just constantly dealing with like, oh, what's wrong with this bike? We got to diagnose this electrical problem.
Sure.
And I can never get in the mindset, like the creative
I get that. Yeah.
place.
You need to turn into like how Burt Baker from Baker Drivetrain is, where they just give them a whole different building.
Yeah,
they
I
go,
just like need
they
to-
go. You go work over there.
Yeah, that's what I've thought that. Like, I just need like a room that I can close the door, and like if the door is closed, don't come in here and ask a question.
you got a on air sign.
Yeah.
On air, do not disturb.
Eventually, you probably can get to that point.
And
You know,
that's
you've built-
maybe the goal. I'm hoping I can get to that point where I can maybe detach myself from the service side, and you know, even if it's like, okay, like I'm just going to dedicate like 20 or 40 hours a week to the custom side, and I'll dedicate 20 or whatever to help these guys out on the service side. Because right now it's like I literally spend 10 hours, 12 hours a day on the service side, and then my brain is so fried.
because you're putting out fires all day long.
Yeah. And so like to like sit down and be like, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do on this bike. Like, how do I want it? Like, my mind's just not there.
And it's hard to be creative that way.
Yeah.
And so since we've started the parts thing, it's very successful and keeping us busy. And I'm struggling with that too, to the point where am now putting all these fires out, and I'm like, man, I'm not even building bikes anymore.
Yeah.
And this is not cool. So I think I need to restructure and like try to be that dude that chooses the 3 or 4 that is going to get built this year. And that's all
it.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've been consistently putting out 5 to 10 like heavy hitters every single year. And it's exhausting. I can't.
It's a lot of work.
It's too much. Yeah. And I'm starting to be like, not that I'm hating it, but you know, aside from creating your own prison, it's the whole, oh, if you think you love something, don't ever turn it into your profession, right? Like you hear that one too. It's absolutely true, but I refuse to I don't want to fall victim to that.
Yeah.
I refuse to do that because that's all everybody does is complain about that. And I want to break the mold and show people there's a way to stay happy.
Yeah.
And I think that you just don't let the financial side of it take over it, right? And so low overhead is key. And
For sure.
That's why, like, your crew is awesome, but I don't ever want a crew this size because now I'm responsible for all these lives. And
Yeah.
I'm responsible. I can't take off for a month if I want to. These people depend on me, you know?
As great as the crew is, and as much as I love all my guys, and you know, and working with them and everything, there's just this like burden on your shoulders every day that like we have to continue to push and work and grind, because if I don't, then I've let these guys down. You know?
But it's cool that you can say that to them, in front of them, and discuss it, because that's how you create the strongest team you could ever have.
And that's why my
They-
team's here.
Exactly. Right? They are on the same page as you. And
Right.
I've seen the same faces all of these years for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it was like,
And
hey, I'm going to Bagger Racing League, you guys got to hold down the fort at the shop, or it's like, hey, come with me, let's do this shit.
Right.
And your team, and
Yep.
that speaks volumes
Yeah.
on somebody. You
It
know?
takes you way further down the
Yeah.
road than
That's what I'm hoping, and that's been our mindset. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's hard because like my shop is closed today because my
Yeah.
whole team, my whole staff is here today.
Yep.
So it's expensive for me,
Yep.
right? You know, like,
Yeah.
so, but I know that when we get back to work next week, these guys love their job, and they're going to do
Yeah.
a better job. They're going to work harder. They're
tell-
going to enjoy what they do.
I tell people that all the time because, like, the way I got my life set up, you know, so I make parts and do all that stuff. I'll work my ass off. Like, he's seen it. Like, I'll be out there just grinding parts out, just boom, 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 boom. From
this true?
like in the shop
Kyle?
earlier than him to leaving.
He knows how to
after
work.
him.
He definitely knows how to work.
And I'll
And
do it.
play on Instagram.
But then I'll just have it where I'm like, I'm gone for a week. I don't care.
Do we have
like,
an opener? Sorry.
I got you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But, you know, I play that little fine line of, you know, working your ass off versus enjoying your life. You know, and I've tried to, you know, at least help him, instill that on him. I'm like, you gotta, if it's all about the money, whatever, I could probably be a millionaire at this point, if I had my work ethic every day and just didn't enjoy life. I didn't come to these events. I didn't go out to Sturgis and meet random people. I just work. But I'm like, what's the point, So
he's absolutely instilled that in me, by the way. He has. One of the neatest things about Steve is how he creates his own destiny, right? Like, he has a product that he builds and he sells. He's very good at it, and people love it. The more he posts, the more he sells. So he creates his own workflow so that he can come do this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden one day he's like, man, I got like 20 orders right now. I got to get this done. And he will bang it out 12, 14 hours a day until they're done. He will not stop. And then if he feels like he needs to do more, he'll keep posting. He'll keep blowing it up. He'll keep posting more orders. But then if he knows he's going to have a busy season with racing, or he wants to do this trip or do this, he kind of pumps the brakes a little bit and hopes that things slow down a little bit. It's super neat for him to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, to have that kind of control.
Yeah.
To be like,
It's
hit
'cause
the
he's-
button and work just starts coming in.
It's because he's kept it so simple, and that's the key.
Yeah.
And so he's right. Like, I am the dude that will stress out and still put in the work every single day, but just constantly stressed out.
Yeah.
And I got to get this done. And this person's breathing down my neck, and he's definitely instilled that. I literally took off. This is going to be a 5-6 day trip. This one right now. I'm not making a penny. I'm not paying him. I'm paying for I'm paying for everything out of my own pocket. I bought him lunch today. I bought the whole crew coffee this morning because I love the people that I'm with and I love what's happening. I just love being a part of this.
Yeah.
And I'm strictly here just to help him. He doesn't need my help. He can do this on his own. But if something happens and we have to do what's happening back here, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
And I know how relieving that can be for someone who's doing it all by himself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm on year 2 of it right now. I've not made a penny, and I lose all kinds of money helping him. I lose a ton of money not helping him. I wouldn't have it any other way because it's that passion that we're discussing.
You enjoy being here?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
That's
it.
why.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the first 2 rounds at Utah, I had like a little help. My buddy Rennie came out there with me, and at least somebody get off the stand. We didn't know what we were doing, and then we went to Sonoma, and I was gonna have a guy help, and then he ended up getting hurt in a motorcycle accident. And then that week, as I'm heading out there, dude's like, hey, I live like an hour from it. I'm going to come to the race. Like, if you need help in the pit, let me know. And I'm like, matter of fact, I do. I was like, come on out. So like, he ended up coming down, and that's David, that you've met before. Like, he just randomly showed up to the Sonoma race to help out. And I was just
now
like,
he's just
come on
kinda
into
like
the
part of
pits,
the crew. Yeah.
You're part of the gang. Let's go.
That's even more inspiring. David literally works a job that you can't get out of. Like, he works in a mill. He's on whatever budget he's on with what he makes, and his time off is his time off, whether it be, 2 weeks a year or 4 weeks a year. He literally plans his vacations to come out here and do this.
Yeah.
Right?
And for
Say
what?
no more. Yeah, for what?
For what?
Say no more.
I'm not paying him either.
I mean, Steve did buy a pretty decent dinner last night. It was only Texas Roadhouse, but it was.
That's upscale.
We drank a little bit,
Yeah.
But that's the coolest part about it. And since I've been riding with him for 4 years now, he's always been the fastest in the pack. One of the fastest in the pack. The faster one is Rusty Black Charlotte, who was out here last year. Man, was that like set out to build a race bike, came out and just dominated.
Yeah.
I mean, he was MVP last year.
Yeah.
But became a new father, and then he's like, you know what? This is too dangerous. I shouldn't be doing this right now. I can't leave this world with my wife and my newborn. So he gave it up for now. But Steve's always been one of the fastest that I've ever ridden with. And so he's always pushed me, and I'm always trying to keep up with him. And that's why I love this stuff now, because now I'm a pretty aggressive rider myself. So I'm out here learning as much as I can so that when it's time for me to do this, I'm ready to go. Or at least I think I'm ready to go.
Sure, yeah.
I know the ropes. I know what this takes and the tire changes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I may think I'm going to be super fast until the day I hit a track, and then everything changes.
You
right?
really thinking about trying to race?
I bought a FTR specifically to do
Nice.
this. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I'm kind of hopefully setting a goal of November for Willow Springs.
That'd be
Is
cool.
it Willow Springs that we're going to?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm trying to.
That track's pretty. It's fun.
I'm trying to make that the goal. My biggest thing is just like what I said about Rusty. 2 kids, the old lady, a huge mortgage, a big shop, customers' bikes, 4 dogs, all of the things, and I can't afford to get hurt, right? So
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, I mean, you don't got to preach that on me. I mean, you know, I have a wife and 4 kids.
absolutely.
A business with 7 people that work there that rely on. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but if like I'm not there, like my shop just kind of
Yeah.
is not a thing anymore.
Right.
Right. Like, so these dudes are all like without me. So it's like, I'd be lying if I said those things don't weigh on my mind
And
every time I hit the track.
And there comes the word passion yet again.
I just can't seem to get away from the racetrack as much
Exactly.
as like the reasoning, you know, runs through my head of
Yeah.
like, is this really the smartest thing to do? Is it responsible?
But it could be the difference between braking too late in that one corner just to get the pass or whatever, right?
Well, you know, like, so at Milwaukee last year, you know, Milwaukee was a doubleheader, right? And I was pretty.
Milwaukee was sketchy.
Milwaukee was sketchy, and I ran good on Saturday, podiumed. I think I got third, I don't remember. Sunday comes around, I'm feeling good. We go out in the race, and the big like sweeper, like part of the oval,
Yeah.
like I'm just railing that thing, and I think I was actually chasing Rusty, and I scrape, coming around that, I scrape, right, like I think my pipe hit, my header hit the ground, and like it like unloaded, like I felt like both tires like pick up, and I just like went straight towards
And
the
that's
wall.
just a wall.
It's just a wall. It's just
Yeah.
a concrete wall,
Like-
and it scared me.
Yeah.
And like I was like, you know what? I'm good with 4th place.
Right.
I'm gonna drive home with my wife and
Right.
see my kids when I get home, and 4th is cool with me.
Right.
Yep.
And I could have kept pushing, and who knows? I might have been in the wall the next lap,
Yeah.
but it was all right. Like,
Yeah,
don't get
that-
me wrong, the 4th place bummed me out because I mean, who wants to lose? We don't come out here to race to lose. But if I go home in an ambulance, that's really the big loss, right?
Yeah.
Right.
At the end of the day. So
Yeah.
It's things we don't want to talk about.
it's not, man. We shouldn't talk about it because I don't
But
want to
we
think
can
about
talk about how you got 4th place in Daytona.
Hey.
Yeah, but I was on baby motor, bro. I was.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because the
Baby
first one
motor.
didn't hold
what
together.
What size was the baby motor?
Well, I mean, it's a 124
Oh, such a little baby.
with an S&S 475 and stock heads.
He's
and
got a 124.
a plastic
basically.
throttle body.
It's a 127 now.
Oh, yeah. 3
Just
cubes.
because like the cylinders were worn out after 50,000 miles and had to bore them 30 over.
Who needs new cylinders? Let's bore them out. That's one of the more cool parts about Steve in my book is just the story of his current motorcycle.
Yeah.
70,000 miles on that bike. I mean, just
It's been all over the country and
Yeah.
racetracks and then Sturgis in between races.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the things I respect most about Steve is the fact that like I run into him in Sturgis and he's like, I think I need an oil change. I don't remember the last time I changed the oil on this bike, you know, and then he'll ride it to the race and race it, and I'm like, you know, he is legit just the real deal.
Yeah.
Like
Super,
you just.
it's, a lot of it's just super irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it irresponsible, like
No, that's the
stupid,
truth.
or
That's the
just
truth.
whatever.
He just loves
but it's
flying by
just,
the seat of his
it's
pants.
also cool,
Yeah.
right? Like he's just a
So,
dude.
the best way I want to explain it is like I'm my own mechanic. I do all my own work, you know, most of the time, you know, maybe buddies help out here and there. But The thing is that, like, I'm smart enough to know where the jokes are funny. So, like, I joke about the stuff, but I know what's right and wrong. You know,
Yeah.
like, if I didn't know how to build something, it wouldn't hold together how it
Right,
does.
your bike doesn't have 70,000 miles
so, like,
on it. and-
I will joke with people because I know what gets them going. But I'm
Yeah.
like, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But
No,
yeah,
I-
they changing the oil in Sturgis. Like, that next oil change, I blew the crank up on it. So
no, I mean,
I was like, probably should have changed it before I left and not at Sturgis after 1,000 miles.
I think that's the coolest thing with you is just the fact that like for a dude, like say just any dude like listening to that pod or to this podcast, like if he just has a bagger in his garage, like you've shown them the path to like get it on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
it
it's
can
a street bike that you race.
yeah. He can still ride his bike to Sturgis next year.
He
And-
won't. He won't. He has an Indian Challenger now.
You're gonna go there now.
And he has a
I thought you
tattoo.
didn't want to talk about Indians.
And he has a tattoo that says
All right, guys,
Tribe
this
Life.
podcast is ending.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, look at the time. No. Let's talk about Indians.
Oh, we don't have to.
No,
I
I mean-
will. I will. I'll gladly talk about it, but you know, it's
I mean, there's not much to talk about. I mean,
a lot of guys. That's like the guy in the moped bragging about. Like it's still like getting with like the big girl or whatever. Like, yeah, you still ride a moped, you know. That's what the Harley guys think.
That's what
anyways.
I think.
But I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, by the way.
I'm a Harley guy.
Okay, and I'm not. I like all motorcycles.
No, that's not true. I shouldn't say that because
Except
that's not
V-Rods.
true.
I don't like V-Rods at all.
Yeah, B-Rods are not cool.
We could keep making
You've
fun
never
of
banged a
those.
wheelie on a V-Rod to like 90 miles an hour, have you?
I've never really ridden many of them.
No. Maybe don't knock it till you try it.
Maybe.
Same with the
Yeah.
moped and the large female. Never know.
And the Indian.
And the Indian especially.
I have
It
not
is
ridden a Challenger.
Never.
I have not
Okay.
ridden one, so I guess I can't knock it.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I ended up getting a 2023 Challenger through Music City Indian earlier this year.
Shout out Music City Indian, Nashville, Tennessee.
So ended up getting that, and before that, the bike that we were talking about that the guy is currently driving back to Cali, the Challenger he built. I ended up being able to drive that for like an hour and a half
Ride.
ride.
You
I conned it.
con. You don't drive a boat. You con a boat.
But so I rode that bike bone stock for like an hour and a half. That was like my only time I ever rode a Challenger before I got this one. And then we went out to Nashville. He got a 2023 Limited, and then I got the 2023 Dark Horse. And we rode him 300 miles home in January. And so I got like a little feel of it, highway, and then getting by his house, like a little twisties. But it was stock height. Kind of drug the floorboard on it before we even made it back to the house on the first ride, and then tore it down. So he's really been pushing Indian Challengers and the parts and whatnot. So with my bike, I ended up doing some T-bars, 2-inch lift kit, nice Solomon seat, did the Indian Stage 2 cams in it, and wheels and all that. And then some carbon fiber, and then ended up bringing it out to Daytona Bike Week this year. So from St. Louis Daytona Bike Week, we had decent weather, and I was like, I'm riding. I was like, I'm not gonna put it in a trailer. So like after I kind of get it done and it's lifted up, and then I end up getting to throw like 3,000 miles on it. Between
The simplest way to put it is we got it like January 15th and then brought it home, rode it home, built it, and currently it's sitting at 5,000 miles already. So
yeah, so since January on this bike, I've put 5,000 miles on it, and definitely like chassis wise, suspension wise, and motor wise, it's a really great bike. You know, like you definitely got to get on a Challenger. Like, and that's coming from a guy that's racing a Harley. And people are like, well, when are you going to race a Challenger? And I'm like, well, I have the Harley right now. Maybe we'll figure that out at a later date. But there's a couple little quirks with it, but every bike kind of has them. So, you know, I'll get them worked out. The 23 Challengers ended up changing the ECM in them. So then they're still waiting to get the It's like when Harley in 21 changed the ECM, so you
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
get them tuned for a while.
Yeah.
And we had the same thing running with the
Waiting for the
Challengers.
tuning
Yeah,
aftermarket
so
world to
They're
catch
locked
up.
out, and so I actually Forever Rad just became a remote tuning center for Lloyd's Garage, who's out here racing a Challenger, and it's just a fantastic tune that you can upload into your ECM. You have to go somewhere to have it done, but just the torque and the horsepower is just through the roof. Beautiful throttle table, and the other key is it removes the speed limiter, so the bike right now won't go over 110. And so if you just pin it at 110 and just keep it wide open, it feels like you're doing 70 miles an hour. The bike's that good. But we like to ride fast, and so we're pretty sick and tired of not being able to go over 110 right now. So, because I also got a 23 at the same time and built it, and I just took it to Tennessee last weekend, which is why I missed the Fast Life camp out.
Oh, okay.
So I was out there literally shaking it down in Tennessee. I mean, I rode it 50 miles, 100 miles, changed the oil for the first 500 miles, engine brake in, and then hit the road to Tennessee and passed. I mean, I was passing sport bikes out there on that bike, 2 up with a King Tour pack on it.
Wow. So
It's fantastic.
if you guys know what you know today and you don't have a motorcycle, which dealership are you walking into and which bike are you buying?
The Harley obviously has the appeal as like the American icon that you see everywhere, which is why I started on a Harley, right? Just like anybody who's in this garage right now, most likely. So the appeal is there. Like anywhere you go, you're going to see a Harley. You're not going to see an Indian everywhere you go. But after you ride Harleys enough, and then you build them, and then you blow them up, and you fix them, and you blow them up, and then you continuously light your money on fire or flush it down the toilet, I just got sick and tired of that. And I wanted something that would be a better, like I've told you, I work 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's just, at this point in my life, I can still do that. So when I do take time off, I want to enjoy my time. Like, let me get away, let me unwind, and let me not worry about my 128 blowing up on me today, because that's what they do, right? And that's what the Indian brought to me, was just reliability. That was still fun for a stock motorcycle, and then I just had to take a stock bike and make it more cool, more rad.
Sure.
There's a couple of things that do suck about them, in my opinion, but none of it is like, oh, I'm not going to ride it because of that. It's just like you said, they all have their quirks, their pros and their cons.
Yeah.
Stock for stock?
Oh God,
Stock
the
for stock,
Indian
I'm
will
gonna take a
blow the
Challenger.
doors off of any touring model
stock
right now.
or throw $5,000 at a bike, I'm going to take a Challenger.
Still, you could throw
Yeah,
10
no.
grand at a brand new Road Glide, and I'll still take a Challenger.
So, in your opinion, let's just say you rode them stock for stock. You rode a stock Road Glide. Say you went and bought a Road Glide ST.
Okay.
Say you put a pipe and an air cleaner and some bars on it and a seat, and that's all you did to it.
Yep.
You went and bought the Indian Challenger, did the same thing, like
No,
changed the
you
exhaust.
could buy it stock, and you'd still love it better than the bike you just
Really?
described. 100%.
But do you think that the Harley, I guess where I was going with that is, let's say that's all you did to the Harley. Do you think that you would still have the amount of issues? Or do you think that the issues with the Harley start coming because you can build them further?
Yeah, you got to turn it into a hot rod until you have some serious issues, right?
Right.
So you're absolutely correct about that. The problem with that statement is the 10 grand you just put into that Harley, suspension, cam, pipe, tune. The Challenger's still faster. It was cheaper on the showroom floor than the Harley was, and you didn't put 10 grand into it.
Yeah.
So you're now getting your bang for your buck.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
and
when
I
you-
can't argue that.
Yeah, when you build Harleys for a living, how many times do you want to light your money on fire? I mean, if it's helping your business, then yeah, it's the cost of doing business.
Yeah,
of course.
And maybe I'm just still a sucker for that appeal. That
Well,
the
you've never
Harley
ridden
has.
the Challenger, though.
I have not ridden one.
Even if you rode it, you would agree this motorcycle is amazing, but you may still say it's still just not for me. It doesn't have the soul.
It
It
may
doesn't have
be
the feel.
like
And
there's
that's
just
totally-
something when you ride a Harley, like it just has a different feel to it. Like
No doubt.
like it just strikes a different emotion with me.
Yeah. For me
That-
personally, it was the mustard bike. I mean, I built that bike over the course of 4 years, and I built the motor 3 times. And it wasn't due to like not knowing how to turn a wrench. I slowly did the thing, right? 107 to high output 114. 114 to a 125. Then the crank let go. Now we're going 131. And, it started at cartridges to inverted front end, custom wheels to carbon wheels, stock body to a carbon body, all of that stuff. And the downtime that I didn't get to ride that bike due to motors blowing up and dropping another 6 Gs on carbon bodies. And that's the stuff that upset me the most. And the lead times and just all the crap that can come with it and be frustrating.
Yeah.
So I just got burnt out on that aspect. Plus I do it for customers all day, every day.
So you don't want to do it on your own bike, right?
Not really. It's why
I
the
know
body
that
man
feeling.
has dents in his car, and it's
Yeah.
why the mechanic's car leaks oil. It's the truth.
It's the
you know?
truth, yeah.
But I can't be me without having something cool. It's in my blood.
Sure.
And so I just did the bare minimum. You go back to that first bike that I built that I still own. It just has cams, a pipe, a tune, and a paint job and T-bars. It's not over the top.
Yeah.
It's very simple. I just made the right decisions to make it more appealing.
Yeah.
Make it look different. So
Well, and that's, I think, one thing that you've done well is build a bike that stands out at the bike show. I really love your color palettes, your color choices. I just feel like you nail them. I just love the colors that you put together.
Flat charcoal.
don't tell them the key to success. Straight up, I've always had a good eye for just tasteful things and timeless. Timeless is the key to everything. But
Unlike this thing sitting behind us.
But when you're doing a race bike, you want something bold that stands out.
When I built that, I just wanted everybody to recognize.
There's the yellow
That thing
chassis.
finally look cool with dark wheels.
You like them?
I like dark wheels.
I like the white wheels better. It popped more.
I'm super stoked about the new Brock's wheels.
Yeah.
But I was kind of bummed to ditch the white wheels.
So I'm the guy that would paint them white. Let's go.
Well, we were already talking about doing that.
Yeah.
So
just do it. Why not?
Yeah.
It's a race bike. So back to what you're saying on the color palettes and all that stuff. That's solely I've always had the eye my whole life.
Yeah.
But it's solely because I worked in a paint shop for
Really?
11 years.
I mean,
If you knew
got to
the
give
paint
yourself
jobs-
more credit than that because
I have a natural talent for it.
Sure, I think so.
But I got to use that talent on everyone else's dime who comes in for a paint job. Hey, I know that I want a cool paint job, but I don't have a clue what I want. I've never done this before, right? Well,
You were able to hone that craft with someone else's money.
I think your bike would look really cool like this. It's literally just my opinion. And a lot of times they took it.
But in the end, it worked. You were able to crank out probably some cool cars and trucks and some really good looking bikes.
Oh yeah, but especially the cars and the trucks.
Yeah,
I mean, we've done a lot of amazing things in 24 years of just being a gearhead in general. My portfolio will blow you out of blow your mind.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm finally getting to that point of it's time to slow down a little bit. I got to the point where I started counting you remember that one bike and that one car and that one truck? And then you do that 40, 50 times. Holy crap. I dedicated 6 nonstop months of my life to that one thing. Mm-hmm. And then as a father, you're didn't spend any time with my kids during that 6 months. And then you're I'm not doing this anymore. I've proved myself and I'm still gonna keep doing it, but I don't want to do it to the level
all the
I've been
time
doing it.
Yeah.
I need to start living a little bit, just like he said. I mean, he's instilled that in me completely.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Challenger, try it. You should ride mine first. You'd love it.
I'm down. Where is it?
It's in St. Louis.
Yeah.
You could have rode it in Milwaukee. I rode it there.
I'd love the opportunity. You know what I mean?
I love it if you rode it. You're
And I'm
great.
not hating on them. I think that the competition with Harley is good for the industry.
It's so healthy.
absolutely.
I think it's so
healthy.
good because Harley for so many years. I spent 8 years in the dealership from 06 to 14, and I just feel like the industry, in the dealership world, it was becoming so stale. In those years, those bikes that they were building were the same bikes that had been being built for the previous 10 years. Like they were doing nothing to
Yeah, it was all the same stuff.
evolve. And now all of a sudden there's a player on the field and Harley's like, oh wait, we better step out of our game.
Finally paying attention.
And we better start building some motorcycles that can compete.
Yeah,
so I think
cool.
it's good for all of us.
Right.
Whether you're a dude just wanting to buy a bike and go cruise, or you're a racer, or whatever.
Right.
It's good for all of us.
It is cool. And like right now in the shop, we have 5 Harleys and 5 Indians. So we love it all. You know, as
Yeah.
long as it's cool, we're into it.
Yeah.
We're not. If
And that's
it's not
cool.
cool, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, but we still have the passion for anything that's cool. It just has to be a motorcycle.
Yeah.
You know, one of the builds this past winter was a Honda Monkey that Steve bought that's full Öhlins front and rear and fully powder coated, and the Yoshi pipe and the T-bar, or not the T-bars, but pro tapers on it, and like needed a cool pit bike because he's racing, right? So he built a cool pit bike. Before he did that, I bought a Ruckus and turned it into like an 80s GT BMX looking bike because we needed a pit bike. And we were wrenching on Honda Ruckuses and Honda Monkeys. And as long as it's cool, we're not going to judge, you know?
Sure.
And the same goes with our lifestyle of riding motorcycles. I mean, we ride with a ton of dudes that have like simple motorcycles with not much done. But if you're a cool dude and you're into it, then
Right.
let's go. Like we're friends with everybody.
You mean you don't have to have a cool bike to come ride with you?
No.
Oh, I guess I
Gotta
was
shut
wrong.
the fuck up.
No, you can come up. But that's true. You do have to keep up.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. He started that a long time ago, and we live that motto for sure. Every single day, every time we ride, everywhere we go.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think I mean, I have a lot of respect for you guys because the one thing I haven't done is ride enough. Like, you know, James harps on me a lot because James rides a lot. He's riding every day. You know what I mean? Like, he commutes on his bike. He runs the canyons like every weekend. Like, he's always riding. And,
Right.
you know, he'll stop in the shop and be like, and I'm like, too busy. I can't ride.
sometimes you
ride.
need that riding to
And,
fall back in love with what it is you started.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing I respect with you guys is
Yeah.
that you've been able to, I failed at like keeping that balance.
right.
Yeah.
And
it's
that's
just
like what I
nothing but-
respect.
Yeah, straight business, right?
Yeah, business is just like consumed me, like the drive or even the fear of failure or whatever, like the like, oh, I got to get this bike or this job done or whatever.
But concerning failing or succeeding, it shows. The proof is in the pudding, looking at your business and looking at where you were and where you're at today. Even in the 3 or 4 years that I've known you as well, like you're on a total different
Yeah,
level.
how much it's
You
even-
literally have
I've
your own
seen the
clubs
progress
now,
and-
and I'm buying parts from you. And I mean, the proof is there. So it's not a fail. You have to go all in if you
Yeah.
want to take things to the next level.
Well, you know, I
can't do it all.
I heard a saying a long time ago that like a good business owner like wakes up every day thinking that they're gonna fail today. So
Yeah.
that it's like you have to like wake up every morning like with this drive to like just grind. And
How am I gonna make it better
Like
today?
I'm
How am I
almost
gonna do
taking
it?
it too literal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what that's called? It's called hustling.
Yeah.
It's kill or be killed. And that's my life motto. I've been that way.
But I
since
just haven't
my
been
whole
able to
life.
keep the balance of like, okay, I need to like just take off like a week or two and just like
And like
like reset. Like I haven't done that. Like the races are kind of that, but the races are a lot of work.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
For
gonna
sure.
say, like, I'll want a vacation after we get back
sure.
from
These
doing this. 'cause
weekends are
it's like,
chaotic.
You're like, all right, load it up. Do I have everything? Is everybody that cool? Did I order pizza and get beer there? You know, like all it's just the
It's a lot.
extra and above, and it wears you out
For sure.
You know, but you just, I don't know. I like the motorcycle road trips to go with like that because
Yeah.
like that's my reset. Every time I get on a long trip, like I don't care if somebody's by my side or I'm by myself and I just take off for a weekend or a week or that, like that's always my reset. I come back and I'm like, all right, I put myself in a little pickle, you know, like now I gotta work. I have no choice but to make shit happen. But I'm coming back and I'm cool,
Yeah.
calm, collective. All right, let's go.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm trying to work on this year is doing a few more shop rides, like with guys from the shop, like just even if it's after
I noticed
work.
that you're doing that like once a month or
Well,
something
dude,
like that.
that was one thing that I did this year. I was like, oh, all right, we're just gonna do like a shop ride, like, and it's just open to whoever shows up.
Right.
Like, be at the shop at 6.
But the key is not be too busy that day, whether you are or you're not. You just put your foot down and you say, okay, we're doing this.
Yep.
No matter what.
I don't,
And
I'm
that's-
sorry, Mr. So-and-so, your bike
Yeah.
was supposed to be done today, but it just won't be.
Yeah,
And
and
be okay with that.
That's the type of mindset you need to.
And sometimes
keep
you got to tell
moving
people
forward.
that.
And that's just where I've struggled.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I can't go riding today because I told this dude I would have his bike
Yeah.
done tonight, and I got to get it done. And,
Well-
that's just become like
And then
every day. It's that.
And it needs like where you got to pull it back a little bit from that, where you just don't overdo those promises sometimes.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, it's going to be done, plus 2 days from where you thought it was.
Yeah.
And it just gives you a little grace period to,
Yeah, it just
It's
eases
like-
up that
It's
pressure.
going to be more difficult for you because you do service. You're an in and out type situation.
Yeah.
As long as parts are available, right? So it's way more difficult for you than it is for me because I do these longer, stretched out type things.
If it's a day past the deadline on a 2-month build,
Right.
it's not the end of the world. But if you dropped your bike off with me this morning and I told you it would be done tonight and it's not,
Yeah.
you're going to be
It's
more
not,
upset.
and now you can't go to the poker run, and you're not going to die. Right?
That's just it. Like
It's
at the
okay.
end of the world, it's another day, right?
Exactly.
But sometimes the customers are like, well, I was supposed to be going on my poker ride tomorrow morning. Now I got to
Yeah.
miss it, and the brothers are going to be mad at me. It's like,
It's a tough balance, but that's the type of stuff that will cause you to never want to do it anymore. So, you
and
gotta
I'm
start-
I'm like honestly, like sometimes I feel like I'm right on that line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah, you just got to start putting your foot down.
Yeah.
And you tell yourself that you've proved yourself because you have. You've been doing it a long time now, and you have a big staff, and everybody's talented and always there and making shit happen. So, what more do you have to prove? Like,
Yeah.
they're gonna keep coming to you, even if you upset one person.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't ride for the weekend or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, mental health is huge.
Yeah, for
Especially
sure.
when you're the owner of it. If you're not in a good spot, the whole shop is in a bad spot.
And that's so true. Like Tori tells me all the time, like you got to work on like, if you're stressed out or pissed off, like, you kind of set the tone in the shop. And so I've like really tried to like, if I am stressed or if I'm upset about this or that, like not letting it affect the rest of the guys.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do. Absolutely.
Just like put my emotions aside, put a smile on my face, and just try and make it a good day.
Yep, that's what it's all about. I mean, otherwise, if you don't, just keep it simple. If you're not having fun, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? And yes, you're too far along to just quit doing it. So figure out how to have fun. Because
Yeah.
you don't really get another choice at this point.
Right.
You're already doing it well enough that it would be ridiculous to not do it. So figure out how to change the ways
Yeah.
and have more fun. This type of stuff, this type of event. Of course, it's stressful and it's expensive. It's fun.
Oh,
right?
it's the best.
Right.
I
And
mean,
just-
I don't do it for any other reason than I love being right here,
Absolutely.
right now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I love being out on the track. Like,
Thank you, sir.
like me and Steve have had some of the best battles over the past few years. Like,
Yeah.
like honestly, like when I think back on like my BRL, run over the last 3 years, like so many of those include like these battles with Steve.
It's really
like,
funny because we never really meet in the practice rounds. We never
Right.
it's like we go out and practice. We're like, when there's times up, like we don't, like we see each other's times. We're like, damn, we're pretty close. But it's never like we go out at the same time and like we're battling in practice. It's always the
Just
race.
in the race, yeah.
It's
Do you
just
think that's on
Just
purpose?
comes up. I'm cool with it. Because
I
I'm
think
like,
he's
I don't know what he's
just,
going to
I
do.
feel like it's on purpose.
I'm not looking at his lines.
I feel like Steve's sandbagging. Like, Tony's, I'm going to hold off to let Tony do his thing. We'll let him know what we're bringing on race day.
maybe.
There you go.
Yeah. He's hiding a few secrets.
I mean, I know he
Yeah.
didn't go 100% today. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he was taking it easy,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know. Is that true or is he just saying that?
It was true. I watched the whole time. It was true. He can push a lot harder than that.
Yeah. And it's funny because like today they weren't doing lap times, so we really don't know. Like,
I don't even know where I was at.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I
you can't.
progressed.
Like he can be
Nothing.
sandbagging,
Right.
And then I can be like, well, he was sandbagging. That's why he's 5 seconds slower.
Yeah, yeah.
like today we have no idea like where
Yeah.
anybody stacked up.
Well, today was so sketchy with all of the traffic with all the sport bikes
Yeah.
as well that it just straight up became dangerous. When you got 7 bikes
Going
doing
into a
cartwheels,
corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
there's no reason to be in that position. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of guys played on the caution side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of just kept telling myself throughout the day, you know, getting passed by some super fast sport bikes out there. I was just like, ride your ride. I was like, you're learning the track. This is a very technical track that we're at right now. I was like, you just got to find your flow. You got to find your braking points, your acceleration points. You know, if it's all in one lap, cool. Or if you just hit one section at a time. You know, that's one thing I tell people when you do track riding. It's like, I try to hit one section, just nail that section, get it down, and then move to a different section. And then come race day, just put it all together.
Yeah.
You know, you're never going to go out there every practice run and run it like a race.
Yeah.
You know,
Today was definitely a day to ease into the track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think we saw.
And so little did that.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of ego today.
I think that there is.
Harley versus sport bike ego. I think there was that.
You think so?
I think that, hey, from being on top of the hill and just watching, not being on a bike, I think there was a ton of that. There were so many questionable attempts at passes that was
Like, what's
they
the
were just
point?
completely
Yeah.
uncalled for.
yeah.
It's like, what are you passing the guy for? Like, what are
Yeah.
you gaining?
Yeah.
And without mentioning any names, there was numerous people. That's what I witnessed, anyways. I'm not on the track, so it's totally different firsthand. But
Well, I
there was
mean,
a lot.
I know that like my mindset changes when, as soon as the green flag goes up, like race day or practice day is one thing. Like
Yeah.
it's really easy to just stay calm and focused and mellow on a practice day.
Yeah.
But as soon as the green flag goes up,
As soon as that time,
it's like all
that
of
we're
like the
qualifying,
reasoning part of your brain just shuts off.
Yeah, we're qualifying or we're in the actual race. That's when you're just like,
Anything
Yeah.
you told yourself flies out the window.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I haven't done it, but I've listened to him talk like that too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's also something that like you see like some of the veteran racers, they can manage that better because they've done so many green flags, right?
Right.
That they're used to it. Like for us, like we have more practice laps than we do race laps. Like some of those dudes, like they've got thousands of race laps under their belt.
Right.
And so that it's easier to keep their emotions in check during the race. And I think that just comes with time.
for sure.
So
All right. Well, we're at hour 36.
Oh, we made it.
man.
We got a race tomorrow, so let's try not
Bedtime.
to keep
It's
this,
Cinco de Mayo. We got to
keep
get
this too
tacos,
much.
right?
So yeah,
Corona
Well-
and
there's some tacos.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
Thanks for coming
taking
on.
the
We're
time.
gonna leave it all out on the track tomorrow.
For sure.
So, and see what happens with it.
You should
See
do a
if you're-
bet
see
right
if
now.
you're doing any
Let's do a bet.
waxing.
We should do a bet.
He's a bad influence.
I'll do a bet.
Should do a bet.
What's the bet?
I don't know.
about who's beating who tomorrow? Do some
What's
sort
the
of a bet.
what's the
Don't be a pussy. Come
what's
on.
the wager?
I don't know. I'm not the one betting.
Like,
You're
are we
betting.
talking money? Are we talking like?
Well, I did wear a Tucker Speed T-shirt yesterday.
Dude,
You did?
this dude shows up here and he's wearing your shirt to come help me
Yes,
in fit.
I love it.
Well, on the video, I did say it's from
You're his
Tony
favorite
Tucker,
racer.
Yeah.
number 477, my favorite racer.
What can I say?
Kyle.
You weren't paying him anyways. You can't fire somebody you didn't hire.
True.
No.
All right, no bet. We'll come back to a Sunday.
Deal. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just get through tomorrow
Yeah,
first.
I
Let's
just
get
want to
through
like
tomorrow.
have a race, and I'm not like, all right, send it in this corner too
Yeah.
crazy. So
No, I'm down with that.
it's
so.
definitely it's a technical track. Have
It
some
is very
fun,
technical.
And we're gonna try to just have a good time.
You know.
And be safe as well.
Yeah.
Don't,
For
sure.
Don't be too stupid. Right?
Yeah.
You do have to race on Sunday.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
gonna be some sketchy shit.
And
but
go home on
just
Monday.
hope we can
Right.
hold the
So.
sketchy shit together. So
No, it'll be fun. I appreciate you guys coming on. You know, the races, you know, we talked like the races are a good opportunity for us to do these podcasts and talk to some people that, you know, it would be challenging for you to like come out to our shop or us to come to your shop. So like giving us the opportunity to like sit down with you guys is huge. And so I appreciate you,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
coming
Absolutely.
on.
You should definitely keep doing that. That's like a good format. Like we're doing it at the track. and-
You know, it's just real, right?
Yeah.
Like we're
Yes.
at the track, we're racing, you're racing, you're
plus imagine after a race that
Right.
night.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're gonna be exhausted and it's a long day.
I did 6 practice sessions today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a ton of
Legit.
riding.
And the
today.
track is physically demanding.
Yeah.
It's a track that like wears you out.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Just come off, and we were just like, ugh.
Yeah. It's a it's a
You're
track
left,
that beats
right,
you up.
up, down.
Dude, catching him on his giant bike and then holding it while he
Why he
climbs off and not allowing it to tip over.
It's like a grizzly bear
Like, bro, I'm
climbing over a chain link
150
fence.
pounds.
I'm just like, raw.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a gnarly track. Very technical. There's like no room for like relaxing. You're constantly like just pulling the bike left or right, left, right, like just constantly just pulling that thing. So it's a lot. So yeah, we'll cut her short here and call it a night. But thank you guys. Forever Rad.
Yep.
Screamin' Speed and Fab.
Yep.
Or
S.
Steve
Chamberlain.
S. Chamberlain.
5150.
I just realized I was just here for the eye candy.
Yeah, he didn't
Thanks for
really
just
talk about
yeah.
Looking good, James. Thank you. Looking good,
Yeah.
James.
And thanks for James for jumping on with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll get after it tomorrow morning. And I'll see you when you finally cross the finish line. All right, thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
You didn't give me the goddamn notes.
Dude, that was good.
Oh, did we miss content?
Yeah, he's always telling me I gotta like say the. I don't even remember. And I wasn't even gonna try
sponsors?
because I forget.
Was it about wax? Yeah.
No.
I don't know about y'all, but I've been eyeing this piece right here.
What the hell are you waiting for?
I'm not gonna eat when we're just like chit chat.
Just chew like.
You
wouldn't even be able to hear it. Pop that bush. I know they were back.
I kind of like it when they're just working on the bike.